This NBA Finals Game 3 Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, late evening, here to get into the NBA Finals Game 3 betting preview. We'll recap what we saw in Game 2 of the NBA Finals, and we'll talk about Game 3. Obviously, some injury news to talk about for the Boston side, mainly dealing with Kristaps Porzingis. We'll break down, obviously, the spread total, give you our player props. We'll put together our Underdog Fantasy entry as well, and, of course, our lock and dog for NBA Finals Game 3. But joining me here to help me break everything down happening on the hardwood, you know him as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, the WNBA Gambling Podcast, and, of course, here on the NBA Gambling Podcast, Scott Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing tonight?
They're doing pretty well. Yankees are up 6-0. I have no idea how Rizzo just caught that ball, but that's a nice catch. Yeah, can't complain. Looking forward to Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Should be fun. Hopefully, Dallas makes it a series. It would kind of suck if we had a sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals, a 5-game series in the Western Conference Finals, and then we'd be on the verge of a sweep in the finals. So Dallas, hopefully get it together. But so far, can't complain. The picks have been okay. I lost the dogs for both games, but did win the lock for both games. I got a bit lucky, though. I had Tatum double-double as my lock. I was not expecting 12 assists, but we'll take that. So that worked out. But for the dog, I ended up taking Luka over points, parlayed with under assists. That didn't work out because he had 11 assists in the end. But point is, I thought Boston would win. Lonte and I kind of disagreed about the actual side, but it was, once again, basically a push. I think it closed 7. So it was kind of just, we were both right in a way. But I know Lonte did like Dallas first quarter, and that worked out pretty well. Point is, we'll talk about the game in a second, but hopefully Dallas wins a game or two. Let's make this interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a bad shooting performance from the Dallas Mavericks. The first 2 games haven't been able to even crack 100 points. I think both teams shot very poorly from beyond the arc in game 2. Hopefully, we see some positive regression, especially from the Dallas side, like you mentioned. I mean, Dallas just has not been able to get really anything going on the offensive side, and give a lot of credit to the defense of the Boston Celtics. They've been able to shut down, I think, the rest of the crew of the Dallas Mavericks. And Luka, I know he's put up 30-plus point games, had the triple-double in game 2, but it just hasn't been enough. And we'll talk about game 2 here. I think we can just get right into it. Just progressively for me, it seems like that Luka is just getting gas as the game goes along, right? Second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter has pretty much been a no-show in the first 2 games of the NBA Finals here. Obviously, the big news coming out from the Boston side is the injury that Porzingis suffered in game 2, disclosed as an ankle injury. And that's very vague, but it's part of it where it keeps like 3 tendons together or something. I'll get the exact diagnosis here, but it's not intact.
It didn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good. And from all the professionals that covered like the sports type of injuries, they said don't expect him to play for the rest of the series because it will require surgery. And if he does continue to play on it, it could get worse for Porzingis. So I'm not anticipating him being out there. He had a great first quarter in game 1. Was okay in game 2. But I mean, I think the good part for Boston is that they're used to playing without him, especially in the playoffs, right? He missed 10 playoff games leading up to the NBA Finals, did what he could in game 1 and game 2. But just a player that's just had, caught in the injury bug, and that's just what it is at this point right now for Porzingis. So, we could dive more into game 2 here, but what are your thoughts as far as the Porzingis injury, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I believe they said it's a very rare injury, as in, I don't even know how many cases they have per year, but not many. If we had betting odds on which player would have the rare ankle injury, I think Porzingis would have been one of the favorites. The point is, it's definitely unfortunate for him. He fought to get back. He had a good Willis Reed moment in game one. But as you said before, he's missed a lot of games, and Boston's used to playing without him. And I feel like when they traded for Porzingis in the first place, people, including myself, were skeptical on if he would actually be impactful in a playoff run because we were not sure how healthy he would be. And he was great in the regular season when he played. The playoffs, he was mostly out, and Boston ran through the Eastern Conference anyway. Now, I think we can all agree watching the Celtics play with and without Porzingis, they're definitely better when Porzingis plays because of the rim protection. We saw that with the Josh Green block in game one, for example. But the point is, I do think that they're going to be fine long term. But now Horford's going to go back to center.
Yeah.
And we know that his three-point shooting is nowhere near Porzingis's. So that could be an issue if Horford ends up settling for too many jumpers on the outside and he can't hit anything. I think it could be a big deal. In reality, though, assuming that Boston doesn't suffer any more injuries, they are up 2-0.
Yeah.
They need to avoid losing 4 of the next 5.
Yeah.
I think they should be fine, but we'll see what happens.
It's funny that we have to say I think they're going to be fine, just because we're so used to like Boston fumbling it away. But
Well, I've seen 2-0 comebacks before. In fact, Drew Holiday was actually a part of coming back from 2-0 down, and now they'd have to blow a 2-0 lead. But we've seen Boston blow leads all year. Game one got interesting randomly. Game two looked interesting for a bit. Then you had the PJ Washington either missed dunk or Derek White block, whatever you want to call it, but that kind of officially ended the game. The point is, though, we know that Dallas is not automatically, I'd say, dead in the water. We shouldn't immediately write them off. It's still a 7-game series. Teams have come back from 2-0 down. 3-0 down, not so much, but 2-0 down is definitely doable, and they're at home. So I'm not going to write off Dallas, but in reality, with Boston being as good as they've been all season, and with the record they have, and with the position they're in for Porzingis to get injured, it's a lot better for him to get injured up 2-0 than tied 0-0. So Boston, I think, should be fine. Dallas might win an extra game or two, but I think Boston should still win the series.
Yeah, and I think the Porzingis injury for me, I think it affects him more on the defensive side of the basketball because he truly gave him that rim protection. We saw it in game one where he had 3 blocked shots. He was able to alter shots when the Dallas Mavericks were attempting to attack the basket and the rim. And I think that's more important, right? I think on the scoring side of things, you can look at it 2 ways, that they have the depth on the Boston side for them to knock down shots and a different guy to step up every single night. As you know, in the first 2 games, we saw Porzingis, then we saw Drew Holiday in game 2, and then Jaylen Brown has been that guy that's been able to put 20 plus points up in the first 2 games. I think maybe the good news for Boston fans and Boston bettors is that Tatum hasn't had that signature game yet. And now possibly without Porzingis, now would be the time for him to rise to the occasion and take on that scoring responsibility, or at least help, because he has the depth there, right? We talked about Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, guys even coming off of the bench for them and contributing at least a couple 3-pointers made, whether it's between Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard. I think now what's going to happen is that you're going to see the Dallas Mavericks attack Al Horford in that pick and roll. And he can't stay in front of Kyrie. He can't stay in front of Luka. So we'll see if they make that adjustment going into game 3 here. But yeah, I mean, look, Dallas being back at home in game 3, like this is the opportunity, because you go down 3-0, like you mentioned, historically, it's just not, it's very, very rare that any team has come back from a 3-0 deficit. 2-0, yes, like you mentioned with Drew Holiday with the Bucks, they were able to win 4 straight. But now with just the depth and the way Boston has been able to play in the first 2 games, they are in the driver's seat right now, to win the NBA Finals. So anything else you got from game 2 we want to discuss?
Oh, we got to talk about 2 players that did not play well. You mentioned Tatum. I mean, the thing about Tatum is that there are some people that are going to defend him because he had a borderline triple-double. He actually should have had one. They called a late shooting foul for the Derrick Jones layup. That would have been his 10th rebound. But I thought Tatum sucked in game 2, and I understand that he got his teammates involved. The facilitating was good after he had 6 turnovers in game 1. I'll give him props there. He did improve the decision-making when it comes to passing, and he made less mistakes. The shot selection is so atrocious. And this isn't anything new. In fact, there is a stat. I'm sure you've seen this going around Twitter, but I pulled it up. Since 1961, 1962, with 150 plus shot attempts, that's the criteria. Jason Tatum has the worst field goal percentage in NBA Finals history.
Sheesh.
And he's played 8 games.
Yeah.
8 games. He's shooting a 35.4% from the floor in the NBA Finals. 35.4. I got to bring it up. I understand that he can still impact the game defensively. He's a good rebounder. Passing was good in game 2. I get it. I can't let it slide when you're going to be first team All-NBA. I understand that good players find ways to impact the games besides scoring, but damn, man, he can't shoot the ball. It's painful to watch. The shot selection's terrible. The decision-making's awful. For I would say his decision-making when he's hunting his shot has been very bad. And that's been an issue that we saw against Golden State in the finals a couple years ago, where he just couldn't hit a layup and it just seemed like he was in his own head. Same thing I saw in game 2, but he did improve in other areas. I got to mention it, though, because I tweeted it out, and I'm going to say it again. If Boston does win the title, assuming they win the title, Tatum will be probably the worst first option to win a title in a long time. Let's put it that way, because this team is stacked. And yes, I know that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because Tatum's going to have a ring and nobody's going to care. But I am going to throw it out, at least for a talking point. You go through all of the teams that have won a title. Even Toronto, they got Kawhi Leonard. He was top 3 in the league that year. You can go down the line. Tatum is probably the least impressive number 1 on what could be a title team in a long, long time. Not trying to compare errors, but I think you'd agree with me.
Yeah, and I think that's when Boston made the acquisitions of Porzingis and Drew Holiday at the beginning of the season. I think that would, for me, when I look at it, I was like, okay, that might be the difference between them winning a title and then them not winning a title. Because when you add those type of 2 caliber players, when you already had a guy like Derek White that was really flourishing in this Boston system, and Jaylen Brown only getting better. Yeah, I know he got paid, the amount of money that he did to become the highest paid player in the NBA, but he's actually been really good in Jaylen Brown. But then I think that takes the pressure off of Jason Tatum, I guess. Obviously, you want your number 1 option to play like the guys that you just mentioned. But I think for him, offensively, scoring-wise, if he wasn't able to, or he's not able to right now, be that 25, 28 point per game scorer in the NBA Finals, it's okay because you have other guys on the team that can score. And he's done a great job of rebounding and facilitating the basketball as well. But I think when you are the number 1 option, you still got to have a game or 2 in the NBA Finals where, hey, you come out and put a 30-point game up and you are, that number 1 option that you're supposed to be on this team. So it's not like I'm giving him a pass, but like you mentioned, the numbers speak for themselves for his shooting percentage. And
he's in a perfect situation. I'm not saying that it's the end of the world and that Tatum is going to, not accept the ring or people won't realize he's a champion if they end up winning the title in the end. Like, Celtics fans don't care. If they win the title, they win the title. Bettors don't care. If they bet on Boston futures, they're going to be fine. But I'm at least going to point it out that they have been winning. I don't want to say in spite of Tatum, but a big reason for that is the supporting cast kind of bailing Tatum out. That's kind of the point I want to make.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Scott, before we continue the conversation here quickly, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to check out, let me rewind that. Right into tying into Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to check out our new daily podcast dedicated to Underdog Picks, The Daily Dog. It's a new 10-minute episode dropping Monday to Friday called The Daily Dog, wherever you get your podcast picks. And also Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. The contests have been announced for the upcoming NFL season. Circa is giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes for Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Sign up in Vegas and play from anywhere with footballcontestproxy.com. Make sure you use that promo code SGP to get $50 off. Again, that's footballcontestproxy.com. Make sure you use that promo code SGP. And of course, like I mentioned, our friends over at Underdog Fantasy, the new Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. So don't miss your chance to try, and don't miss your chance to try it out before it is gone. So make sure you guys use that promo code NBA SGPN to claim your special pick and your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Again, that's underdogfantasy.com. Make sure that promo code NBA SGPN. And Scott, I quickly want to shout out our listeners who have signed up with our promo code NBA SGPN this month, because we are running a contest with the other shows across the network. And guess who's in the lead right now? Very, very marginally is the NBA Gambling Podcast. So for those of you who have signed up with that promo code this month, appreciate it. And if you haven't already, do us a favor. We want to win this contest. So do us a favor. Make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. I'll be honest, this is probably their best offer yet. It's, again, like I mentioned, up to $250 in bonus cash, plus a special pick that you can throw into your entry. It's usually higher, half a point for like a star player. I know we had that Caitlin Clark one on Monday night, courtesy of Underdog Fantasy. So again, appreciate everybody that has signed up using our promo code, but continue to do so. We are running a contest against the other shows on the network. All right, got anything else from game 2 we want to mention before we get into game 3 here?
I mean, I roasted Tatum, but he still had a good stat line if you ignore the actual field goal percentage. Kyrie's been terrible. And I guess it matters more because, one, they need him more than apparently the Celtics need Tatum to have big games.
Yeah.
B is the fact that Kyrie just can't beat the Celtics. He's, 0-12 in his last 12 meetings. And it just seems like Kyrie is either in his own head or maybe Boston just has the right matchups for him. But Tatum, as I've been critical of him with his shooting, I said before, I gave him props for impact in the game in other ways. Can Kyrie do that? Defensively, I know he's been good in the playoffs, but is the actual facilitating there? Not really.
No.
Has he been doing much in this series besides isolating and chucking up bricks? Not really. So once again, it's a spot where defensively it's not a great matchup for Kyrie because he's got to deal with Jaylen Brown, who's bigger than him. So that's not a good matchup for Kyrie. But in general, Kyrie, especially when you're Dallas and you're relying so heavily, I use the word duo dependent. That was the term I used with Lonte for game 2. They need Luka and Kyrie to do so much for this team. Luka's banged up, and I'm not even going to go there because Luka's still putting up good stat lines. Kyrie needs to do something in the series because in game 2, he was absolutely brutal, and I thought he basically had no impact on the entire game.
It's really the fact that he's not able to get much separation that he's been able to get in the first, in the Western Conference series, whether it was the conference finals, whether it's semifinals or in round 1. Excuse me, like you mentioned, that the Dallas Mavericks are dependent on their top 2 guys, where the difference right now has been that depth has been, I think, the tipping point right now for both of these teams. So, look, you're back home, you're down 0-2. Like, this is the ultimate spots where you need to show up. And if you don't, you're going to be staring at a 3-0 deficit. So, we'll get into game 3 in a second. So, I think, and I mentioned this a lot of times, I think role players tend to play a lot better at home. So, PJ Washington was pretty good in game 1 and game 2. But again, Kyrie Irving has to be that guy for this Dallas Mavericks team, especially in the second half, in particular in the fourth quarter, where I feel like Luka is running out a little bit of gas because he's dealing with whether it's a back issue, the knee issue, the ankle injury. But he's still getting his, and he's been impactful in the game. Right, first quarter in game 2, he came out dropped 20 points if I'm not mistaken, and that was really a table setter. But then after that, you need your role players and guys like Kyrie Irving, your second best player, to really step up and really help Luka. So we'll see if they're able to do that here in game 3 here, Scott. So let's get into game 3. Right now, as it stands, the Dallas Mavericks are now up to 2.5 on the spread. Total is sitting at 213. And we talked about it a lot of times, or historically, we've seen that teams coming back home 0-2 is a favorable position for the home team. But I feel like a lot of people will see the Celtics at the +2.5 price, up 2 games to nothing. And also, let's not forget, Boston is undefeated on the road in the postseason thus far, 6-0 in the Eastern Conference before their run to the NBA Finals here. But can Dallas get on the board in this series here, Scott? And I will say this, I feel 95% confident that Scott Foster will be the head official in this game.
I definitely think that Boston is just a bad matchup for Dallas. The question, though, is without Porzingis, assuming he's not going to play, at least in this game, probably not the rest of the series, do I think Dallas can do enough to exploit Boston's defense without Porzingis as a rim protector? Because Horford has been fine defensively in the postseason. He's had a couple of bad moments with switches, but I do think that Horford might have some issues, at least protecting the rim as well as Porzingis did. So I am wondering if Boston's going to struggle a bit readjusting the, I'd say, rotations. Is Cornette going to get minutes now as the backup center? Is that the plan?
Yikes. I mean,
I'm
at
just
this point, yeah, I mean, he might get like, I don't know, like 7 to 8, 9, 10 minutes, maybe.
My point
But
is
yeah, at a point,
it's a
you're going to have
massive
to play him.
downgrade for the front court.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think defensively they're going to have issues, especially if they want to switch everything because Porzingis does give you length and he can also shoot much better than Horford can from the outside. And initially I was going to take Boston because I think they're the better team. I don't know if I want to lay 2.5. I feel like Dallas is not going to get swept. I still think they're going to win a game or two. I'm not picking them to get absolutely buried. I think I actually am going to lean to Dallas.
Okay.
I think even though Boston is undefeated on the road, I do think Dallas had Boston on the ropes for a little bit in game 2 before
Yeah.
eventually things unraveled. I'm hoping Kyrie plays better at home. They really need him to. If Kyrie's going to be bad, then I just think they're going to lose the game again.
Mhm.
So maybe I'm just calling out Kyrie and I'm picking him to have a step-up game. But I think I'm going to lean to Dallas. I think it's a good spot. I think that Dallas will come out with urgency. We saw that in the first quarter of game 2. Boston, we've seen from time to time, they can get a little bit, I'd say, complacent, where they just don't come out with the intensity they need, and they might get, I don't want to say buried, but they might end up blowing an opportunity because of it. I still don't trust Boston late in games because I just think game 2 got interesting when it probably shouldn't have in that fourth quarter. I'm going to lean to Dallas, but I think this line's pretty trappy. I think the public will be all over Boston
Yeah.
because Boston's 2-0 in the series and they've dominated Dallas in the 4 meetings this season. But I think it is pretty telling Dallas is favored, though. So I might just kind of assume it's a trap one, and I'm going to lean to Dallas.
Yeah, I think that like this is the all-in game here for the Dallas Mavericks. Like you lose this game, this series is a wrap.
Yeah.
I like them early in this game. Kind of how they came out in the first quarter in game 2, which was led by Luka. And I think that's exactly what it's going to take for this Dallas Mavericks team to win this game because you want to come out of the gate at home with a crowd behind you, feed off of them, and get out to a lead early and try to come out and punch Boston in the mouth early, get them rattled a little bit. And I think the advantage in this game, if Porzingis doesn't play, and I think both you and I believe that he won't be playing, is that they need to take advantage of whoever is going to try to guard Luka or Kyrie in the pick and roll. And I think that might be the game plan for the Dallas Mavericks. I do expect them to shoot better in this series. Sorry, in this game, they have been atrocious from beyond the arc. Maybe a little bit of home cooking where you're used to the background, the rims, whatever the case might be, and getting behind the crowd. I do expect Kyrie to bounce back. Maybe the whole Boston versus Kyrie thing was maybe in his head, and maybe he was trying to do a little too much being in Boston, but now being at home court in Dallas, he can play behind his fans and just play the game of basketball that we know that he's really good at. But I like Dallas early. I already played the -1. It's up to 1.5. I wouldn't be surprised if they're up by 2 possessions in the first quarter. I'll lean full game Dallas here as well, -2. Again, definitely shop around. There are 2.5 starting to pop up as well. But I do think like this is the opportunity for Dallas to get a game in the win column in the NBA Finals and make it a series here because again, like we said multiple times, you lose this game, it's pretty much over. So that's where I'm kind of at as far as the spread here for this game. Total's at 213, Scott. Any thoughts on the total?
I've been trying to lean over, but I think I'm going to lean under. Like, I
Yeah.
know the defense might look worse without Porzingis. The offense might look worse because Porzingis can give you some shooting and floor spacing. And Horford, I'm not really scared of from the outside. He's had a couple of solid games, a couple of really good games, mostly awful from behind the arc this postseason. So I do think that might kill some of the spacing. I'm going to go with the under. I think Boston defensively does match up pretty well with this Dallas team, even without Porzingis. And I think Dallas defensively has been fine in the series. I don't think they've been terrible by any means defensively. The issue is that the offense has not been able to do enough to hang in there against Boston. So I'm going to lean under. I just think that if this game's going to be going in Dallas's favor, I think the game has to be kind of ugly. So I'll go with the under in this one. I think it's going to be somewhere in the 200s again.
Yeah, I think that Dallas and Jason Kidd came out and said that they may want to play with, excuse me, a little bit more pace. And we'll see if that stays consistent throughout the entirety of the game, or maybe it's just in the first quarter, first half for this Dallas Mavericks team. So I think if you want to play an over, maybe it's the first half. But again, I don't want to play a full game over here, especially the way that these two teams play, especially at the pace and the defense, right? I mean, both these teams have been really great defensively. I think if it does get over, you'll probably see both of these teams um, shoot very well from beyond the arc, and I think that probably will be the difference if it does get over the total. So I'll lean under as well. I mean, I'm gonna read a little bit more about what Jason Kidd said about playing with a little bit more pace. But as right now at 213, I would lean towards the under here as well. Player prop, Scott, what are you looking at?
So I don't want to touch Kyrie props. I understand if I'm picking Dallas to win, I guess I'm automatically expecting him to have a better game, but I still think his props might be a bit too high because Kyrie set the bar pretty low in the series. He can play better, but still not great. Like I think that there's a middle ground for him to find in this game. The question is, do I want to go with Tatum? Because I want to go with his under for points, especially with his field goal shooting, and the fact that he was actually just a really good facilitator in
Yeah.
game two. I am kind of wondering if Tatum's going to stop forcing the issue. We saw Drew Holiday play well. Brown's had some moments as well. Or maybe with Porzingis being out, Tatum's going to chuck more. But I think I have to lean to Tatum under for his points. I just can't trust him to actually manufacture good shots. I just don't fully trust it. I think that Tatum is in his own head. I think he's forcing the issue. He's not really attempting any mid-range jumpers, so all of his shots are either step-back three-pointers, which I know that we all love the unders on because he doesn't make many of them,
Yeah.
and he tries to force drives to the lane, which doesn't work that well either because you have Gafford and Lively as rim protectors. So I think I'm on Tatum under again. I think his points are at what, like 27.5? That feels
Yeah, it
pretty
was
high.
at 27.5 when the news came out about Porzingis, and then it's now down to 26.5. But I'm definitely shop around. There probably are some still 27.5s out there.
He could burn me by volume, but it would not. I would put it this way: it would not shock me if Jaylen Brown outscored Jason Tatum in this game.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
So I'll go with Tatum under for points.
Yeah. Sorry. It is back up to 27.5 at DraftKings right now at even money on the over. So it's kind of going back and forth.
I like his rebounds too, but
yeah, and that was what I was going to mention. Is I do like his rebounds to get over the number of 9.5. Now without Porzingis out there, that creates more rebounding opportunities for other guys. But Jason Tatum in particular on the road in the postseason thus far, he's been in double-digit rebounds in all 6 of their postseason games, and that number right now is at 9.5. And like you mentioned, he did fall 1 rebound short of a triple-double, in fact, in game 2. But I do expect Tatum to continue dominating on the boards here. So I do like the over 9.5 for his rebounds in this game here. One more player I did like here is Derrick Jones Jr. If you want to look at his points and rebounds to go over, there's a significant difference for him when he plays at home in Dallas and then when he plays on the road. The number right now is sitting at 12.5 at even money now. It was at plus 105 earlier today, but Derrick Jones Jr. has gone over this projection of 12.5 of points and rebounds at home. I want to say it was 6 out of the 8 games they played at home. Let me double check that here for Derrick Jones Jr. But the point being, I mean, he's a guy we know that can grab at least 3 to 4 rebounds for you, but also he's a guy that can shockingly get hot from beyond the arc, and we saw that in the last series against Minnesota. He did knock down that first 3-pointer in game 1, but after that was pretty much non-existent for this Dallas Mavericks team. But at home in particular, he's averaging 11.6 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. And just going back and looking at it, 12.5. He's played in 8 home games. He's gone over this number in 6 of the 8. So I do like Derrick Jones Jr., especially being at home to respond here for the Dallas Mavericks. Any other ones you're looking at?
yeah, Lonte ended up getting me into PJ Washington points and rebounds for game 2, which actually worked out very well. He's been solid against the
Yeah.
Celtics in his entire career, actually. Just randomly gets up for this matchup. Porzingis is out now, so you might have less rim protection in general. Washington, his threes have actually not been going in, and he's still been going over. So I think that he can have an impact in several ways. I don't mind his points and rebounds. Quickly trying to pull up what that actually is. Sorry, just give
I
me
got
1
it.
second.
21 and a half.
Okay, it was 18.5 in game 2, so it has taken a bit of a leap, but he's still been going over, so I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I think he's in line for a solid showing. I don't mind Luka, by the way, for rebounds. He has gone over in both games. I think he's in line for another good rebounding game, so I will go with that. That's basically it. I don't really have much else to add. I know that I told Sean on VSiN over the weekend, Al
Mhm.
Horford first quarter points, 1.5. It's actually been really good at going over. He tends to end up with 2 a lot of the time, but I think Horford first quarter points, we know he's been getting benched about 5-6 minutes into the quarter anyway because Porzingis would come in. I am wondering if they're going to keep him out there for longer or if they're going to keep the same rotations with Cornette. I'm assuming more minutes for Horford, if I had to guess. So he might get more of a
Yeah.
workload in the first quarter.
Yeah. Just your PJ Washington point, I think it's advantageous that he should respond at home shooting the basketball, especially from beyond the arc, because in the first 2 games in Boston, he was 1 of 8 from the floor, but he still has gotten over this number on his points and rebounds, 22 in game 1 and then 24 in game 2. So if he just hits, a couple threes here, this could easily cash here. So I mentioned that on the propcast today for PJ Washington, points, rebounds, and assists, or even his 3-pointers. It is at 1.5 at minus 170 something. But if you're a same game parlay player, you want to throw that into your same game parlay with PJ Washington over 1.5 threes. I do think that he has a good shooting night from beyond the arc for the Dallas Mavericks. All right, Scott, before we do get to our lock and dog and our underdog fantasy picks for game 3 of the NBA Finals, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll through a sportsbook. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA model so you can get an AI-backed money line spread and total pick for every playoff game. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Hey, sometimes, getting tickets to your favorite events, it could be a little difficult. And if you're trying to get out to an MLB game this summer or have been trying to as the season has started, look no further than Game Time, because guess what? Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on Game Time actually go down closer to first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I love using their app because there's a lot of great features on there, like last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, and it's easy to find and buy tickets at MLB tickets or any other type of event that's in your area, whether you want to get out to a comedy show, a theater show, or another sporting event, concerts. It's all on the Game Time app. Like I mentioned, they have last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off of buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. Flash deals as well. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or even another event. All-in pricing as well. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. I love that as well. And my favorite part, your seat view. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you actually purchase the tickets. The lowest price is guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And their customer service is absolutely flexible in their policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code SGPN for a $20 off of your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Scott, let's get into our lock and dog here. Then we'll put together our underdog fantasy entry for game 3 here. You want to lead us off?
Um, sure, I can lead us off. I thought about going for Tatum rebounds, but I will point out Dallas actually attacked them a lot in game 2, and I didn't really think that Tatum held up that well defensively. So we'll see how he ends up looking, but I think I'm going to stay away from rebounds because of it. I think I actually am going to dare Tatum to have himself a bounce back game. His points are 27.5. That feels pretty high to me. I'll go with the under on Tatum points. It's at minus 125. I see minus 120 actually on DraftKings. I'll take that. He's had less than 27 in 3 straight games. He's had less than 19 in each of the first 2 games in the series. The field goal percentage has been terrible. Dallas has been defending him pretty well. And we saw that Tatum had 12 assists. So I am wondering if Tatum is going to continue to pass the ball, if he's going to be getting trapped, etc. I think Dallas's defensive game plan's been fine. I think the offense hasn't been good enough. So I do think Tatum is going to continue to struggle. I just think that this is too many points. Tatum could have a decent game and still finish with 25. Like 28
Yeah.
points is a lot when I'm
Mhm.
not expecting many points in this game in general. We like the under, and we are picking Dallas to win. So I'll go with Tatum under 27.5 points as my lock at minus 120. For my dog, if I'm picking Dallas to win, I think I have to go with it. Give me a Luka triple-double at plus 290. He had a last game, and I do think that he's going to have himself a solid game at home. He's going to need to. He should play every minute. I don't even care how injured he is. You might go down 3-0. Like, he's going to have to play every minute. He had a triple-double last game, despite having a pretty average first half assist-wise. I think that he's going to have the ball in his hands all the time. Hopefully, Kyrie makes some more shots that could get him extra assists. But I think 290 is a good price. So give me a Luka triple-double as my dog.
Love it. All right, for my lock, I'm gonna say that first quarter. I know the line has moved up half a point, but I expect Dallas to come out and play well here in that first quarter. You got to come out and punch this team in the mouth, and I think they'll make that offensive adjustment. I don't expect Porzingis to play in this game, especially or even for the rest of the series. But even if he's out there, I think he's going to be compromised. I don't think they'll be able to move at all. But I fully expect him not to play in this game. So I'll take him in the first quarter. That number's at 1.5 right now. I think they'll be up by 2 possessions in this game. So I'll take that as my lock. For my dog, I will have to do like a player performance double or something like that. I'm tempted by Kyrie, but I can't trust him. But I think the Luka angle it's what it is. So right now you can get, let's see here. Not I don't want 25 plus. Let's go 30 plus points. It gets you to plus odds. So Dallas Mavericks money line and 30 plus for Luka gets you around plus 124, 125. That's currently over on DraftKings. So not a huge dog, but again, I do expect if Dallas wins this game, I think it's going to be led by Luka. And you like the triple double. I think that he has another 30-point performance. And then you get contributions from some of the role players. I can't trust Kyrie just yet. I need to see it before I can get behind him. Maybe he does have a great game 3, and then we get behind him in game 4, just carrying that momentum. Right now, I'll take a same game parlay. Luka 30 plus and Dallas Mavericks money line. I think it's a little bit of correlation there around plus 124 as my dog. All right, so that's our picks for the game 3. Let's put together our underdog fantasy entry here for game 3. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you use our promo code NBA SGPN. They are giving up to $250 in bonus cash, as well as a special pick when you do sign up as a new account holder. So again, make sure you guys get over there. Use that promo code NBA SGPN. And like I said, we're in that competition with the other shows on the network. Right now, NBA Gambling Podcast is in the lead. We want to maintain that lead, but we can't hold it without the help of our loyal listeners. So again, get over there. Make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. All right, Scott, where do we want to start here? Do you want to start with Tatum rebounds, 9.5? You want to go under on his points? What are you thinking?
I think I'd rather go Luka rebounds.
Okay.
This one. So I don't mind Luka there. Do you want to take Washington, or is 3 for the bump on PR too much?
I think I still like it because he hasn't knocked down his 3-point shots. And I think that's what's going to be maybe the difference of him getting over again, because even if he hits 2 or 3 shots, I know the rebounds are still going to be there for PJ Washington. So I'm still behind PJ Washington, especially being at home. That number's at 21.5.
Okay. I
Okay.
don't mind it.
All right. So we'll go with that. So we got PJ Washington higher on his points and rebounds, and then we got Luka higher on his rebounds. We have anything from the Boston side that we like?
I was thinking if I wanted to go for Tatum rebounds, but Dallas really did attack him a lot. He didn't have many rebounding chances in that game.
Yeah.
But you have Porzingis being out now. Do you want to go Jaylen Brown points? It seems like we both think he's going to show up for this game.
23.5. Yeah, I don't
That is
hate
pretty
that.
low.
What do you think about 5.5 for first quarter?
I don't mind it. I don't know. I don't have his first quarter numbers in front of me, but I don't know. You have any thoughts on that?
I feel like he's the one that really comes out and plays well, but I mean, he's only really been the consistent guy that scored 20 plus points. I know he hasn't gotten to 24 just yet in the NBA Finals. Let me just double check that here. So he's had 22 and 21 thus far. Let's see. But again, I think that's going to just bump up without Porzingis there. That we don't expect him to be there. So yeah, I think let's go with Brown. I trust him more than Jason Tatum. So yeah, I'm good with that. We'll take the points higher.
Sure.
All right. So there's our entry. Just to recap, we will go NBA Finals Game 3 Underdog Fantasy entry is going to be Luka Doncic higher 9.5 rebounds. We are going to go with PJ Washington points and rebounds higher. That number is 21.5. And then we're going to go with Jaylen Brown higher 23.5 points for Game 3 of our entry. Again, make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN and come join us and make some money with us. Hopefully, we are talking about a winning entry when we reach the conclusion of Game 3 of the finals here. But that's pretty much it here. Anything else we need to mention, Scott, before we get out of here?
No. Looking forward to Game 3. Besides the fact that once again we do think Dallas is going to win Game 3, I just hope it's a series.
Yeah,
like 3-0 would suck.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's my last thought.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a competitive series. Hopefully Dallas does win it. We have something more to talk about. At least they guarantee ourselves a Game 5 at minimum. So yeah, hopefully when we come back later in the week for Game 4, we'll talk about a series that is going to be 2-1. All right, make sure you guys follow Scott on Twitter. That's at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. More importantly, make sure you guys subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. We're here for the NBA Finals, and of course, Scott and Terrell are here for the NBA season as well. So great time to be subscribed to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube page. Appreciate everybody that supported us for this regular season in the playoffs. It's always a great time with our fans and guys that do join us and gals that join us in the chat. So appreciate everybody. All right, we'll be back later this week for Game 4 of the finals. So look out for us then. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.